Presentation of Fox Sports.
We are the Force. We are Florida.
For right field and deep. Granderson wandering. Wall gone! It kept going and going. And it's gone. Grand slam in game one of the series. Ozuna left field. That is gone. Yelich right field. That's deep. This game is tied. Fastball right to center. That's deep. That is gone. Yelich and Stanton with home runs in the bottom of the eighth, and Miami takes down the Mets for the second straight night. Oh, what a glorious Easter Sunday here in Miami. The Mets, the Marlins finishing off a long four-game series. It doesn't feel long, though, because every game has been thrilling, including last night. The Easter eggs are out. The kids are after it. Perry Hill out there also offering some instruction for those kids. Get your feet, you field, get the... Anyways, it's a fun time out there. Happy Easter, everybody. Rich Waltz along with Todd Hollinsworth. What a series. What a night last night. These last three games have been a lot of fun.
Oh, very, very exciting. First off, happy Easter, everybody. It's a fun day. Yeah, you're right. A lot of excitement here. It's great to see home runs, a lot of home runs in this series, and some great pitching. You think about everything that's led us to this moment in today's ball game, from the bullpens, the taxed bullpens, to the starting pitching. It has been an exciting series, and I'll tell you, we talked about this early. If you want to win this division and if you're going to be a playoff team, you've got to figure out how to beat the Mets, the Nationals more consistently, and I think the Marlins are showing great signs early this season.
Okay, what to talk about? We could talk about the bullpen. We could talk about starting pitching and Adam Conley last night. Marlins infield hasn't made an error, but Chicks still love the long ball. So let's do it. A lot of home runs in this series from both sides.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch. And again, Marlins ending up on the right side of this conversation an awful lot. 22 home runs for the Mets. Now 18 solo shots. But what have the Marlins done particularly well? They've hit home runs with runners on base. In fact, they're tied with the Dodgers in the National League lead with 8 home runs with runners on. So they're making good on their home runs a little bit better than this Mets team, who's leading all of baseball with 22.
So there you have it. So I guess if you're pitching in this one, you need to be aware of the long balls.
Keep it down.
Keep it down, keep it in the park. That's been hard to do. How about Miguel Rojas? Kiss that bat, you bet. Rojas has been terrific as well. Final game of the homestand in the series. Mets and Marlins. Marvelous series so far. With more, let's go out to center field. Craig Minervini, Jeff Conine.
Thank you, Rich, and happy Easter, everybody. Talk about one of the unsung heroes of the Marlins early this season. I think you saw signs of this last year in that shortstop, Miguel Rojas, with Echeverria out. He's done a great job. He can play all the positions, and he's been effective both offensively and defensively.
Well, offensively, he's been a surprise this year, too. Back-to-back three-hit games. Instrumental in that game last night with a huge walk late and set up basically the heroics for Christian Yelich and Giancarlo Stanton. Tell you what, it's only 11 games into it right now, but you talk about MVP of this team. You look at the big numbers that Marcell Ozuna's put up. I think this guy right here deserves much of the credit for his early season success.
He has a hit in 6 of his 7 starts this year, batting .417. You know how well he's played defensively, and we don't want to jinx anything, but the Marlins infield has not made an error this season. They have no errors. They have the best mark in terms of fewest errors in the baseball since 2015, and they only have 2 errors all year, and that's among the best. I think they're second in the major leagues right now.
Well, you listen to Perry Hill, and he said he could put Miguel Rojas at all 4 infield positions and be capable of winning a Gold Glove.
Kansas City Royals have made only 1 error, so I mean that's nice company. 2 errors so far. You're right. It's a good save from Perry Hill. So he'll be at shortstop, batting 8th in this ball game. Edge could be back maybe middle of the road trip. We'll see next week. Mets Marlins, we got game 4. You won't have to wait too long for this one. First pitch coming up.
Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By your South Florida Chevy dealers. And by your local Toyota dealers. Let's go places. Some great photographs from this opening week for the Marlins, including this Mets series. Rob Cato and the Marlin photographers sharing those with us. And a final snapshot here of Dan Straely as he gets set to face the New York Mets. What to expect out of this right-hander?
Well, you see Dan Straely right there, 2 starts this season, 7.56 ERA, a little up there. Coming off a really good second start, improvement from the first one to the second one. First time through the lineup, he's been really good, throwing lots of strikes. He's a 4-pitch mix, fastball, slider, curveball, change.
Bouncer, shift works gorgeously. How about that? That was Rojas out there on the first base side against Curtis Granderson. Here's the rest of the Mets. You've met Granderson, Neil Walker, the switch hitting second baseman. Cespedes had the big 2-homer game early. Jay Bruce is off to a good start. So is Lucas Duda. Travis d'Arnaud, the hero of that 16-inning game finally back in there. Jose Reyes at short, Wilmer Flores is at third base, and the Dark Knight, Matt Harvey, will hit ninth. And here is Neil Walker. A 4-game series, and you've noted it a few times the last 3 ball games. Teams get to know each other, and the fact that the Marlins and the Mets played a 3-game series in New York last weekend means this feels like a 7-game series. Miami took 2 of 3 in New York, has taken 2 of 3 here. There's Don Mattingly at the rail, Terry Collins. There are no secrets between the two teams now. You know what relievers throw. You know strengths, you know weaknesses, you know tendencies. So this should be a fascinating game.
And you know scouting reports, and that's the thing that's so interesting when you see a team an awful lot in a short period of time, is that it's not what Dan Straely has or what his game plan might be. It's what the game plan might be against you as hitters. Marlins hitters, Mets hitters, they know how they're being attacked. Are they throwing these sliders off the outside corner? We've talked about that with Giancarlo Stanton, how they've tried to get him out. Elevated fastballs, sliders away. There is a game plan to the hitters. Now it's how does the starting pitching and the bullpen take what those individuals have and implement it into the game plan for the team.
3-1 pitch. It's out, and Straely walks Neil Walker.
Let's take a look at the Miami Marlins defensively today. Marcell Ozuna in left field, Christian Yelich, Giancarlo Stanton will be in right field. Eric Dietrich, Miguel Rojas, Gordon and Bohr around the infield, JT Realmuto back behind the plate, Dan Straely on the mound for the Marlins.
Well, here is Cespedes. Been an interesting 4 games for him. Remember, 2 home runs early in that game 1, and then the longer the game went, the sicker he got. He had the flu. Didn't see him the next night except as a pinch hitter. Fastball misses up, and then he was back in last night, but was 0 for 4 with a couple of strikeouts. And of course, Cespedes, with his 6 home runs, leads the National League starting play here on this Easter Sunday. The breaking ball from Straely for a strike, and it's 1-1. And the Mets are well represented in that list of home run leaders. Jay Bruce and Lucas Duda have 4. That has them tied for 4th in the league. Marcell Ozuna of the Marlins with 5. He and Eric Thames of Milwaukee tied for 2nd. Fastball is up and in. Sunday's always a great day to check in on leaders in both leagues. It's tradition. When we were growing up, you did it with the newspaper. Now obviously you can do it on the internet, on your tablet.
Right.
Or just check in here with us.
Keep an eye on Eric Thames. I think he's an interesting story. Back to the United States. Opportunity with the Milwaukee Brewers. Has been playing overseas. Already off to a good start. 5 home runs.
Breaking ball in the air. D. Gordon approaches and has the catch. And the Marlins get Cespedes here. Straely has 2 outs. And up comes Jay Bruce.
Let's take a look at what Dan Straely's looking to accomplish today. We talk about bad contact all the time or getting a hitter out on his front foot. Watch Yoenis Cespedes. He's going to get a little bit extended there. His hands get away from his body, and that's what Dan Straely wants. People, you see the pitch, the late tilt to the low corner over there, and Cespedes reaching for that ball. That's exactly what Dan is looking for today.
Jay Bruce now has really played well for the Mets. 4 hits in this series, 4 homers already on the season. Of course, this is game 13 for New York. For Miami, it's game number 12. Bruce did not play in last night's game. Had 3 hits in that 16-inning ball game. And he blasted a homer against the Fish up in New York. And he takes out.
Well, I think Jay Bruce, early part of this season, has answered a lot of questions as far as does Jay Bruce fit with the New York Mets, and part of that is how well he's been playing. I mean, he's playing great defense. He's hitting the ball well, hitting for power right now. A lot has been made about acquiring him, going back to last year and some of the struggles that he had, and then maybe even some of the comments that got out there, not a New York type of guy or whatever that nonsense was. Jay Bruce has cleared the air with that, and he really looks motivated in the early going.
The Mets may have the best outfield depth in baseball. When you think about their reserve outfielders, Michael Conforto, who's a budding star, I think, and Juan Lagares, who won a Gold Glove a few years back, coming off an injury. That's pretty good.
Well, both players capable of not only filling in, but filling in capably. It's not just starting if somebody were to go down. They could start for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. They could start for an entire season. Fordo's swinging the bat. Garrett's a great defender.
Dan Straely strikes out Jay Bruce. And the Mets are done in the first. This game is underway on an Easter Sunday. Miami looking for a series win. I love the ears. That's a great look here at Marlins Park. D. Gordon walking up to the plate. Miami goes to work against Matt Harvey. Here's the lineup brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Gordon, Real Muto, and Yelich, Stanton, Bohr, and Ozuna. Of course, Marcell Ozuna in the league leaders in a lot of categories right now. Derek Dietrich at third, Rojas again at shortstop, and Dan Straely in the 9 spot. Matt Harvey. Gordon tries to bunt, does, rolls it first base side, got himself a hit. D. Gordon a lot of times will push it down that third base side. He brought it with him this time.
Great idea by D. Gordon to bring it with him and test Matt Harvey. Here's the thing, everybody. Guess what? Matt Harvey came out of his last start with an irritated hamstring, some cramping in that hamstring. Great move by D. Gordon to find out right away where Matt Harvey was.
And so Harvey now faces JT Real Muto. You've got Christian Yelich and Giancarlo Stanton scheduled as well. Real Muto was sick yesterday. Of course, he had the big walk-off hit, and Harvey throws it away. Gordon a stumble on his way to second, puts it in gear, on his way to third, and the throw is not in time. Well, Gordon already affecting the game. Here's the throw.
Right up the line. You see Matt Harvey kind of get around it. D. Gordon back easy, and that's an easy triple. Lucas Duda unable to get anything on, any kind of leather on that throw. Kind of wanders down to no man's land.
And the at-bat has changed for Real Muto, even though he hasn't seen a pitch. The fastball misses up. And it's 1-0. JT did get to the ballpark last night. A 24-hour bug. Feeling better by the end of the game. And he gets his second start of the series. Infield's back. And the count is 1 ball and 1 strike. And Real Muto's numbers against Harvey are pretty good. His numbers this season are really good. The player of the week in week 1 in the National League. 382 clip here.
There you go. You see the numbers right there. 5 for 12, 417. Best in the lineup today against Matt Harvey.
4 of those hits came last year against Harvey. Jab shot, and it's popped into shallow right. Walker back, makes the catch. And Harvey gets exactly what he wanted. An out without the ball really leaving the infield. Here's the Mets defensively.
Yoenis Cespedes back in left field tonight. Curtis Granderson in center field. He was in right field last night. Jay Bruce back into the lineup. You see the lefties back in there. Flores over at third. Jose Reyes at shortstop. Neil Walker. Lucas Duda back in at first base. And Travis d'Arnaud had a couple days off. He's working with Matt Harvey today.
That's poise for you folks. Todd keeping his, well, the bird noises, the flamingo noises were all around him. Here's Yelich now, and another big at bat early in this ball game. Infield is back. That's D. Gordon at third. And of course, last night, Yelich, a dramatic home run to tie the game. Upper deck. That was 8th inning.
Great at bat by Christian Yelich. That was as exciting as the home run is what set that up. Again, not the best of at bats leading to that moment in the ball game, and you've got a great glimpse of how valuable Christian Yelich is.
That'll get the run home. Yelich rolls it up the middle. Reyes throws him out, and Miami has a run right from the jump against Harvey.
Well, that's the Matt Harvey this year. You see the 2.92 ERA. I mentioned it after the D bunt. Did come out of his last start with some hamstring cramping. D. Gordon set the stage with a great bunt. Got over to third on the error. So you see the numbers there. He's kind of working back into form. Last year, his fastball fell off a couple miles an hour, and his ERA went through the roof. 4.86 ERA last year for Matt Harvey. So looking for a bounce back year this year.
Giancarlo Stanton takes, and it's 0-1. A 3-2 pitch after that Yelich home run. Stanton, I think everybody in the place expected slider. Stanton didn't get one. He got a fastball, and he lost it to straightaway center. A typical Stanton homer, a blistering exit speed of above, I think it was 111 miles an hour, and it ended up way up in the bushes in center field. That one fouled back and out of play.
Oh, my goodness, Giancarlo Stanton. He's hit a couple balls this homestand that had gotten out about 3 seconds, 4 seconds or less. And that was one of them. I don't think there was any doubt off the bat where that one was going to land. And in fact, to your point about that slider that wasn't thrown, he had a couple good passes on a couple foul balls.
Reyes, a chopper from Stanton. Miami's on the board. Little speed from D. Gordon. That's 1-0. Looks pretty slick. 1-0 Marlins on top. Marlins Park on Friday the 28th, Puerto Rican Heritage Night. First 7,500 fans get a Marlins fedora hat courtesy of Leon Medical Centers. You can purchase the Puerto Rican Heritage Package, receive a Puerto Rican branded Marlins jersey. Get your tickets today at marlins.com. Big Lucas Duda arrives at the plate with Travis d'Arnaud and Jose Reyes in tow. And Duda off to a powerful start. He and Jay Bruce with 4 homers and has them in the top 10 in the National League. We told you Cespedes at 6, Ozuna at 5, Thames at 5 as well. But it's nice for the Mets to see this type of production out of all the lefty bats. Bruce and Duda. You've got a lot of power at the tip of the pen for Terry Collins when he writes out that lineup card. Add that to Cespedes, and it's no wonder the Mets have hit 22 homers, best in baseball.
Well, you see this lineup, tons of power up and down. They put pressure on the starting pitching, and you get it. But I think what the Mets are probably most thrilled about is that a couple of guys that they had some questions about, Lucas Duda being one of them, have really answered those questions here in the early going.
That was Derek Dietrich making like a second baseman with the shift. Marlins have been much more aggressive in shifting this year. They were one of the teams that shifted the fewest last year. Already Granderson's bounced into the shifts. This one would have been an out in a traditional infield alignment as well. It was just that Dietrich was able to slide on over and get there. There's a look at Perry Hill from his spot. And of course, hope you were with us for Marlins Live. A lot of good stuff on the show today. Dustin McGowan, Fred Hutchison featured. Craig Minervini mentioning and noting that Marlins infield has yet to make an error this year. 11 games without it. d'Arnaud center field. Yelich in, now back. He makes the catch. Straely has the first 2 outs of the second.
Well, and completing the conversation on the shifting and how good the Marlins have been defensively this year, you have to give credit to the starting pitching and to the bullpen as well. You have to pitch to the scouting report. You have to pitch to what your defense is willing to do, and when you're willing to take risks by over shifting, you have to make sure that you're executing pitches at the same time. This all works with the pitching and the defense together.
Here now is Reyes. A couple hits in this series, but it shows you what a slow start he's had. His batting average is still below 100. Reyes comes in at 0.93.
He says he's in between right now, and that's what a hitter will say when describing out in front of off-speed pitches and behind the fastball. He's kind of in that gray area, and it's an unfortunate place. No hitter wants to ever be there, but you feel like you're late on the fastball, and then somebody will throw you a changeup and you're way out in front of it. Another way of saying it usually is that you're drifting just a little bit into your swing.
Popped, foul, and out of play. Of course, Miami is headed to Seattle. It's the furthest distance of any 2 major league cities apart. Don Mattingly went there a lot as a New York Yankee, certainly in the American League. Marlins haven't been there, I believe, since 2011. Changeup misses out, and the count's 3-2. Reyes walks. Second walk issued by Straely. Seattle, then to San Diego, then to Philadelphia.
I think we're making, what is that shape? It's like almost like an hourglass turned on its side, maybe.
Now in 2011, the Marlins were actually the home team. They lost a series because U2 had scheduled a concert at the old football stadium, new Hard Rock Stadium. And here's the twist. I don't think U2 played that year. I think Bono hurt his back and they had to cancel the concert, but they'd already scheduled the game up in Seattle. Wow. Wilmer Flores. Flores trying to hit that one through the rolling windows. Took a mean cut. And it counts 0-1. Flores a couple homers, including one in this series.
We'll often see Flores in there against the lefties. Has great numbers against them, but hitting 8th in the lineup today for Terry Collins. Dan Straely on the mound.
Terry Collins giving Asdrubal Cabrera a day off. He's got Michael Conforto, Juan Legares, and Rene Rivera in reserve. It's a strike. So the Mets are essentially just like the Marlins, going with a 4-man bench. And relief pitching has been at a premium ever since a 16-inning game broke out in game 1 of this series. Both managers have had to really navigate carefully with arms they want to protect.
Oh, there's still limitations today, Rich. I can guarantee you that. There's a couple of guys probably in both bullpens that you're looking to avoid.
Good breaking ball. Flores chased it, and Straely ends the second just like he ended the first with a strikeout. Marlins finishing off a 4-game set here and 7 games within about a 10-day period. Matt Harvey, it's the first time the Marlins have seen him in 2017. There's the scouting report brought to you by Auto Nation.
Any pitch, anytime. Certainly capable of doing that. His 3 best pitches: fastball, slider, and that changeup. I think it's been interesting that you've noticed a little bit this year. Again, it's only 2 starts and it's early in the season. Hasn't been using his fastball as much as he traditionally does in his career. He's actually been using his slider a little bit more.
You saw on that scouting report, the last one, Mystic. That's Mystic, Connecticut. That's where Harvey grew up, and he grew up a Yankee fan. Ended up going to school at the University of North Carolina. And quite simple, he just throws the ball by Justin Bour 3 times. Bour is now 1 for 11 against Harvey. And there's 1 out. Here comes Marcell Ozuna. Of course, Everybody is talking and buzzing about the back-to-back homers late, but the Marlins had back-to-back homers early as well. In the second inning last night, Justin Bour homered. Remember, that was against Jacob deGrom. That tied the game, and then Marcell Ozuna blasted one to left. That untied the game.
Well, Marcell has been off to a great start this season, using all fields, and his game plan at home plate has been so good. Many times you see last night, got a curveball, hanging curveball out over the plate. That's what he hit out. He's also been on the fastball, so you can tell when a player's doing that to multiple pitches, he's going up there and game planning well. He's not just seeing the ball particularly well, he's got a good game plan going for him, and he's executing it as well.
Ozuna, remember last year, convinced Barry Bonds to give him some of his bats. Liked them, and coming out of spring training was using a Bonds model. A swing and a miss, and all of a sudden Harvey piles up a couple strikeouts, getting Bour and Ozuna.
There's the slider. We just talked about it. It's hard and it's tight as well. 88, 89 miles an hour. Can deceive the hitter. You see that action down in the zone. So Ozuna went fishing.
Derek Dietrich now. The Marlins, all indications point, will activate Martin Prado tomorrow night, and he'll be in the lineup against the Seattle Mariners.
Here he is.
Good to have the Marlins leader back. Dietrich takes down low, and it's a ball and a strike. Marlins, the plan for Prado, 4 days of minor league games and at bats. They did not want him playing today. They didn't want him to play and then get on a plane for 6 hours and go to Seattle. That one's hit pretty well. Granderson going back at the track. He makes the catch. Harvey goes 1, 2, 3 through the fish in the second. It's 1-0 Miami. Authority of the Marlins may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Accounts and descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins. Nothing like a corn dog on Easter, right? Fastball to Harvey is in. Glad you're with us. If you just hopped aboard, it's 1-0 Miami. D. Gordon kind of created that run with his speed. And Harvey takes strike one. It's Harvey against Straely. Miami trying to win this series. They've taken 2 of 3 here so far, after taking 2 of 3 up in New York last weekend.
Well, and why not? 1-0 lead for the Marlins right now. Every game in this series has been decided by 1 run.
Harvey fouls it back, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Curtis Granderson, Neil Walker scheduled here in the 3rd as well. Chopper towards short. That would be Rojas. And that would be out number 1. Tomorrow night, Marlins, Mariners. Tom Kohler, Ariel Miranda. Marlins Live is at 9:30, so it is a late night with the Fish. 10 o'clock start, East Coast time. We'll be at Safeco Field. Jessica Blaylock will be trying the Grasshoppers. You and I will go for the salmon sandwich, which is a popular one.
Yeah, I'm more into the salmon sandwich. Now, I grew up in Bellevue, Washington, so I'm familiar with the fish, and very, very popular. Some of the best fish you're going to get in the United States in Seattle. Now, the Grasshoppers, no thanks. I'm out.
That's the new rage in Seattle.
I'm going to go ahead and just scratch my name from that list now. Is that okay?
You wouldn't want to sprinkle a few on your clam chowder?
No.
They apparently are selling, like, well, not hotcakes, but grasshoppers. They're popular.
Yeah. Got reprimanded the other day for stepping on a grasshopper. You're supposed to let it live, I think. My daughter, don't step on the grasshopper.
Fastball's up.
Now I'm going to go to Seattle and I'm supposed to eat it? No.
Organically farmed, though. They've had a good life. That one hit to left center field. Yelich giving chase, calling for it, and he makes the catch.
Wow. Not even sure that's possible.
We've talked about league leaders and all of that. You check in on standings just to see how teams are going and take a barometer of what's up in the East. In the East, the Mets are at 7-5. The Marlins and the Nationals are now at 6-5. Atlanta, after an awful start, has improved to 4-6, and the Phillies are at 4-7.
Well, and you look around baseball, you say it's the Mets and the Nats, and the Marlins are kind of that intriguing team. They've got a really good team. Can they take that step forward? But can they compete inside their division? And I think that's what the first 2 weeks of the season really have been about. How do the Marlins stack up with the Mets? How do they stack up with the Nationals? Remember, last year they were 11 games under 500 against their own division, so it was a clear area that they needed to improve in.
Interleague baseball tomorrow. Designated hitter for 3 games in Seattle. And Straely with a good change up there. Walker out in front of it, and it's 2-1. Interleague opponents for everybody in the National League East will be, for the most part, American League West. With, if you've got a rival, as the Marlins do with the Rays, you'll also play that team. The Mets will also play the Yankees as well. Other rivals, come to think of it. So Washington would be Baltimore. Toronto would be the no, not the Expos. Used to be originally, right? That one misses out. And Straely, as effective as he's been, has now walked 3. None of those walks have risen up to bite him, because he's been able to strike out both Jay Bruce and Wilmer Flores to end the first and the second inning.
Well, right. You're getting to the tail end of the story, but you also have to get back to the beginning of the story, which is he's also retiring the first hitter in these innings, and that's so key. Go back to his last couple starts where he got himself into a little bit of trouble. Those innings, he had leadoff walks, he had leadoff action, and then those walks led to things later on that inning. So far, the walk has showed itself, but it's after an out or after 2 outs in the inning.
Well, this is not a guy you want to walk someone in front of.
I'm not saying it was on purpose. That's not where I'm going with that. I'm just saying that, listen, it's a little easier to navigate when you already have a few outs in the inning.
You're right. Well, here's Cespedes now. He popped out. He's 2 for 12 after hitting those 2 homers in game 1. And the Marlins infield shifts over. with Gordon almost behind second, Rojas in the hole at short, and Dietrich plenty deep at third base. By the way, Danny Echeverria's rehab is going well, and the Marlins are hopeful that by the time they get to San Diego, he'll be back and in the lineup.
Happy belated birthday to Denny Echeverria. His birthday was yesterday. I know we had a lot going on. Jackie Robinson Day. I don't think I had an opportunity to mention that. 28. Take for him.
Straely with a count 1-2. Breaking ball, ground ball. Dietrich loads up, cross the diamond, nice throw, and a nice inning for Dan Straely. 3 scoreless for Straely, 1-0 Miami. Advisor here we go. Let's go to Seattle. There's the Space Needle. You know it, you love it. Todd Hollandsworth, Bellevue, Washington guy. And then it's on to San Diego. Fish tacos, Gaslamp Quarter, Petco Park. Wait a minute, what? East Coast? Sure, Philadelphia. Brotherly love. Look at Ben Franklin making the show. Cobblestone streets are still around there in Ben's old neighborhood. Will be there as well. It's 9 games in 11 days.
Still around. They've never left those cobblestone roads.
Yeah, ask the cab drivers in Philly whose shocks have been destroyed. Here's Rojas. You got Straely behind him and Gordon next against Harvey. Harvey kicked it in gear in the second, striking out Bohr, striking out Ozuna, and getting Dietrich to fly out. Had himself a 1-2-3 inning. Miami's run came in the first. D. Gordon a bunt single. Harvey tried to pick him off before throwing a pitch to JT Realmuto, who was waiting in the box. So Harvey essentially threw it down the right field line. Gordon got to third, scored on a Christian Yelich ground ball out. So the only hit of this game went about 25 feet up the first base line. Good pitch there, good location from Harvey, who has battled a variety of injuries. Here's a look. It's still a good location, just wasn't in the box. Here's
Perfectly said.
2-2. Rojas pops it back behind first. Walker and Duda, and it's Duda who makes the catch. And we check in with Craig Minervini. Hi, Craig.
Hey, Rich. You mentioned the trip to Seattle. How neat that's going to be for Ichiro, who today was talking with us about the last time he went in a visiting jersey to Seattle. It was a very strange one. It was in the late July, before the trade deadline, he went from the Mariners to the Yankees. Ironically, Mariners were opening up a 3-game series with the Yankees when he was traded, so he just switched locker rooms. And Ichiro told us today, first time he grounded out, he actually started walking toward the Mariners dugout instead of the Yankee dugout. But he also said when he came to the Marlins that Mariners and Marlins sounds very much the same in his native Japanese language, and many fans back there thought he was going back to the Mariners. As for returning, he said he's happy and healthy, and that's what he wants to show the fans, and hopefully he'll get in the lineup with the DH, possibly switching some outfielders. I would think he's going to get some playing time as well. Guys?
Straely takes outside. Hey, Craig, I'll tell you one thing. I think fans in Japan now know that he's a Marlin because when we were over there in March, Ichiro was everywhere. Billboards, in stores, endorsements, airports. Straely hits it hard. Walker knocks it down.
Marlins have made a lot of trips, as you know, marketing-wise to Japan. Jeff Conine has been in the group a few times, walked around with him. He is a rock star there. Rich, last time he was there, he got a 45-second ovation. It was the first time he was there as a visitor with the Yankees. He was not in the top 3 in the lineup, so he didn't come up till the 3rd inning. It'll be interesting to see how long that ovation is this time. They love him. He is a hero there in Seattle as well.
And there's a big bobblehead day planned on the Wednesday, a bobblehead of Ichiro in a Mariner uniform and a Marlin uniform. And I think the swing from the Marlin uniform is modeled after that triple in Colorado, which was hit number 3,000. Gordon now with 2 outs. Mets infield on the alert. And D takes outside. It's 1-1. D's homestand's been really nice, and you've been impressed with the way he's looked at the plate.
Backside has been really, really strong since getting off the last road trip and coming home. Hopefully he'll be able to take it out on the road as well. See right there. I mean, again, it's thinking the game as well. I didn't even have a chance to get into my notes on this one, but the great bunt right there you see against Matt Harvey. But when you're thinking clearly, you're thinking along. Matt Harvey came out of his last start with hamstring cramping. He had to leave early. He was dealing with it. What's D do? He drops down a bunt on the first pitch of the ball game and tests that hamstring out. And that's just thinking the game right there.
Gordon, a little flare to left, and it falls in front of Cespedes. So this should be fun. It's 2 outs. And with a 1-0 lead, you would expect that Gordon, who always has the green light, if he can get a jump, he can go. But you would expect this is a spot where you really want him to run. Real Muto up there. Last year, Harvey's caught stealing percentage was 30%. League average 27%.
I'll play off of that. Matt Harvey's already thrown 1 down the first baseline, so not that he won't go back over to first. You know it's in the back of his mind. So you may see this. You may see Matt Harvey step off a few times while D is over at first base. But again, I really do believe at some point he has to go here.
Harvey throws a strike. Of the Mets catchers, Rene Rivera is the best thrower. Darno is the better offensive player. JT popped out to second back in the first. Walk-off double in game 2. Big moment, obviously, for Real Muto and the Fish. And a long wait, too long for Real Muto.
You've seen between 1 pitch to JT Real Muto, 2 step-offs and a hold right there, and that's how they're going to try to slow D down on the bases.
Darno on his way out to talk to Harvey. So while Miami is headed not only to interleague but also to the other coast, the Mets are anchored on the eastern seaboard for the foreseeable future. Their first 32 games, the Mets' first 32 games, are against the National League East.
It will all even out at some point.
At some point. Not running. And Realmuto, a little bit of a discussion on that pitch. But certainly JT's expecting Gordon would run as well. And now the Mets have the luxury to pitch out if they want with an 0-2 count.
Cat and mouse game that is played between pitcher and base runner.
Runner goes, liner into center. That's a base hit. Gordon around the fallen Walker ends up at third base. Goodness, did Realmuto hit that ball? That was a scorcher. Because you thought that Walker might be able to catch that since he was headed to second base.
You knew at some point D. Gordon was going to take off. Takes off on the 0-2 pitch. I thought, oh no, he's hitting it right into Neil Walker, who was going to take the throw at second base. But he hit it so hard, able to get it into center field. Real nice swing right there on that pitch. 0-2 pitch. Runners on the corners.
And that gives Yelich an opportunity here against Harvey. Yelich a bouncer to short to knock in a run in the first. Some dynamics here. Certainly Realmuto can steal a bag. However, his presence at first opens up the right side, with Duda having to hold him to keep him close. Of course, Yelich is a guy that's tough to shift against. He sprays the ball everywhere. And that one he was looking to pull.
Matt Harvey took a little off on that. You saw the 83 miles an hour.
Yelich a little dribbler. Harvey's got it, and he has to race to the bag. It's close, but he's out. That was close. Harvey got there just in time to prevent a run. Marlins will leave 2. On an Easter Sunday here at Marlins Park. Dan Straely making start number 3. Our friends at Inside Edge provide us with some really cool stuff. First pitch fastball 11 of 12 times. That's a lot higher than his career average. And here's what he has thrown today. You see the changeup has been effective. 5 of his 8 changeups. Slider's been really good as well. I hope fans out there, I know sometimes you don't hang around for post-game shows or listen to post-game shows, but if anybody had a chance to listen to Adam Conley last night in his post-game press conference and him talking to the media, just fascinating stuff. He remains the best interview in my mind in a Marlin uniform.
Now, how did he break down his start last night?
Oh, he was terrific. Conley said the fact that he had to pitch in the 16th inning and put his whole routine into scramble mode, he says it was the most fun he's had pitching ever, because he said he thrives on being put in that position. He said it's fun. Now, that is his fun face. He's a very serious guy.
Well, you explain that now. Is that his creative side, the creativity coming into the 16th inning of a ball game and not having the routine and maybe getting to mix it up a little differently?
I don't know. Look, he's a very, very thoughtful, very intelligent guy. Good breaking ball there. That's going to add to those numbers we saw from inside edge. Straely gets the strikeout. Conley is a very introspective guy as well, analytical, all those words. But he really liked the fact that Don Mattingly needed him to go out and get deep in games. He kind of changed his pattern. He said he wanted to establish his off-speed stuff right away so that he could use the fastball effectively, and it all worked for him. He did run out of gas at the end there, but he said, look, the last 3 days of being put in a position that he wasn't used to being put in, he said he loved it, and he just thrived on it. That's good to hear, because there's some guys, the pitchers, players, position players, love routine and order.
Well, he recognizes that at this level, the major league level, you're going to grow by being tested, by being thrown into some different types of situations that test you. And I think for Conley, great place to grow. Last night he had to make some real serious adjustments inside that ballgame.
Do you think Martin Prado is discussing moose or rabbits, or what was he doing there? Antlers? That's another strikeout. Dan Straely right now looking strong. He gets Bruce and Duda to open up the fourth.
Well, we talk about spin rate on the four-seam fastball at the top of the zone, and he has handled both Duda and Bruce so well these first 2 times up here by showing that pitch, showing some off-speed pitches at the bottom of the zone, but again, being very vertical. It's what you want to see. He will throw down in the zone with his changeup, up with his fastball.
See that box score, the in-game box score for the Mets. Darno pops that up. Rojas squeezes. Dan Straely, outstanding. A 1-0 Miami lead. Baseball on Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Kubota. For more information or to find a participating dealer, go to FloridaKubotaDealers.com. And by Kaiser University. Learn more at kaiseruniversity.edu. Great shots from the Marlin photographers that we were able to access in our production truck, Rob and Cato. There's that skyline of Miami that you can see through the rolling windows out in left field. Someday, Giancarlo Stanton's going to hit one through those windows. He's come close. Bounced out his first time up against Harvey. A 1-0 ball game. Did you expect anything less, really, in Game 4 of what has been a nail-biting series with incredible finishes from d'Arnaud's homer, Real Muto's walk-off, the back-to-back shots by Yelich and Stanton in the 8th last night. This one is tight as well.
Marlins wouldn't have it any other way. I really believe it's a key to their success this season.
In what way?
I put it down in my notes early, watching them in spring training and watching Major League Baseball, being at the MLB Network for the last few years, MLB Network Radio, looking at around baseball and watching teams and formulas for success. Everybody creates an identity for themselves, how they win. There's a way, there's a script in some ways. And I thought, I looked at this Marlins team and I said, who do they remind me of? And I started to think back to last year, the Texas Rangers. Texas Rangers last year were one of the best teams in one-run ball games. And you looked at how their team was put together. Good offensive players, good bullpen. Their starting pitching was good, but Yu Darvish was coming back off injury. They have Cole Hamels, so again, a little bit different. Maybe I wouldn't go apples and oranges, but I think you understand my point here. They were good, but not great. How did they win? Well, they played a lot of games, a lot of close games, but they found their margin in those close games. In fact, 20-plus games, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, over 500 in those one-run games. What does that tell you about them? When you look at this Marlins team right now, they go, you look at the lineup, you go man for man, they put them up with just about anybody in the National League. They've got some speed, they've got power, they've got good hitters.
This is Bohr now. He takes a strike.
They believe in their bullpen. They like their matchups. They like how they can change the pace of the game on you in the bullpen. But you look at their starting rotation, and I think comparably, and they've been better than advertised here in the early going. But when you look at that, and you look at the matchups, even in this series, Syndergaard, DeGrom, Harvey today, when you counter with, and it's Volquez, Dan Straely, all very good pitchers, but you know who the Mets are, and certainly around baseball you know who they are. And I think the comparison says, well, maybe the Mets have a little bit of an advantage. Maybe they've got more power arms in their rotation or more power bats. But the Marlins, what have they done? Against Syndergaard, they found themselves in a 2-2 ball game late.
1-2 to Bohr.
Last night against DeGrom and his 13 punch-outs and 97 pitches through 7 innings. And Terry Collins getting him out of the ball game and maybe doing the Marlins a little favor there, but they found themselves in a game that they could win.
And I think that in listening to that, to me, what you see is what Don Mattingly preached in the offseason and in spring training. A different approach at the plate. Need to be better situational hitters. Got to get runners over, got to get them in. Stand is running, Bohr is hitting, and he blasts one to left center field. After it is Cespedes, and he's there to make the catch. Good to see Stanton on the move. Here comes Ozuna, and a reminder, it's the Pirates who are in next on a Saturday, 7/10, April 29th. And the first 7,000 fans get a Marlins tumbler courtesy of Aquafina. All-you-can-eat seats are also in play with the Nathan's hot dog, popcorn, peanut, nacho, Pepsi, soft drinks, and Aquafina water. Go to marlins.com. I mean, you look at today, the Marlins scoring their run in the first on a bunt single by Gordon, a throwing error, and Yelich's ground ball out. Ozuna pulls it foul. This team has been much better with sacrifice flies, with moving runners, and especially getting runners in from third. And the on-base percentage is something that you and I have talked about too. The Marlins are one of the better teams in the National League on base percentage-wise.
Well, and as well, extending innings. We talked about it. I mentioned it in the open. Just the power aspect of it. The Mets have already hit 22 home runs this year, but 18 of those home runs, and of course, you know, as the season goes on, these numbers are probably going to even a little bit out a little bit more. Of those 22 home runs, 18 have come in the last 7 games, and 18 have been solo shots. But for the Marlins, what's the difference? They've hit 13 home runs on the season, but 8, which is actually tops in the National League coming into today, tied with the Dodgers. 8 of those home runs have come with runners on base, so they're getting more out of their power.
Ozuna struck out back in the second. Harvey's given up just 3 hits. The bunt single by Gordon. I think Gordon and Real Muto both had 2-out singles last inning. Stanton still over at first base. And Ozuna takes outside. It's 1-2. Ozuna's done a lot of damage in a short time here. Fouls that one back, and Ozuna sits atop the RBI list for the National League as well. I told you Cespedes is up by a homer over Marcel. Ozuna and Mark Reynolds at 17. Mark Reynolds for Colorado. Mark Reynolds always seems to be playing for a team in a great hitter's environment, doesn't he? He knows how to pick his teams. He was in Arizona. Throw to first.
A little Baltimore as well.
Baltimore, that's, you know, those are 2 primo spots to hit. Colorado now. Stanton runs. Ozuna lines one off of Stanton. Well, the exit speed on that sucker, there's no way to get out of the way if you're Stanton. And with 2 strikes, Ozuna's just trying to hit it hard. It goes as a base hit, and Stanton is out with the ball hitting it. I mean, look, runners can get out of the way, but watch how hard this is hit.
Yes, you see Giancarlo Stanton. I mean, there's nothing he can do right there. You're absolutely right, Rich. I mean, he looks back twice. Watch this. Looks back once, and that's exactly what you're supposed to do. He's got an eye on this. It was just hit too hard. There's no way that he can slow down and get out of the way of this. What you hope is that he doesn't get hurt as hard as that baseball was hit. Look at that rocket off the bat of Marcell Ozuna. He knows that ball was ticketed for right field, but those are the circumstances. It just happens.
Yeah, even Stanton has a little bit of a grin. Oh, he's not pleased. Ozuna gets a hit. Here's Dietrich. And he swings and misses.
Deep fly ball, his first at bat. Granderson to the track in center field.
What you want in that case, you want a ball on the ground that's not hit like that. You want something you can jump over, right?
Well, in all honesty, you don't want it to be hit that hard. Is this something that you can at least move out of the way of? And that's Ozuna. He has been so locked in. I mean, I know he gets credit for the hit, but that would have been a run-scoring situation, no doubt.
It is, however, a positive sign to see Stanton running. He ran twice on that at bat and ran well.
I like that the way that this season has gone, Don Mattingly, for the offense, putting some guys in motion and kind of doing this collectively. You know, not even necessarily getting into the defining roles. You know, D. Gordon's going to ultimately lead this team in stolen bases when it's all said and done, but understanding that there are other players who are capable of running under certain circumstances. We saw Christian Yelich hit and run last night.
There's Lorenzo Bundy, who works with the Marlin base runners.
good base runner is anticipating what is coming next. It's not just about stealing bases. Everybody thinks it's the who's got the most stolen bases in baseball. That is not make for the best base running team.
Harvey and Straely are almost neck and neck in terms of pitch count. Straley's thrown 62 in his 4 innings. And Harvey's about to nudge him. He's at 59 with 2 outs here. And his ball strike ratio has been terrific. He's looked really good.
Oh, Harvey's been really good today. You think back to even the run that he gave up. It was on a bunt base hit and an errant throw, which set the stage for that run. Wonder if he runs into any kind of issues with that hamstring, though. I think back to the Yelich ground ball back to the mound where he delayed just a little bit. He did not look like he really wanted to kind of open it up and run fast.
Breaking ball popped in the air. Flores doesn't have to move much, and he makes the catch. Miami leaves a runner. It's a 1-0 game headed to the 5th.
Back, it's been a home run park on the first homestand, something we're not used to seeing here in South Florida at this ballpark, which is generally one of the toughest to hit it out. But look at this homestand, 19 homers in just 5 games heading into this one. Only time more was last season, 23, but that was a 10-game homestand. Long way to go here, though, to try and match that. It's tied for the 2nd most ever at home. And also a 4-game homestand here at Marlins Park, just 1 homer shy with 11. Giancarlo Stanton threw out this one, guys. He said it's the low humidity that's the factor. Jeff Conine, though, said it can't be, because he said scientists looked at it and determined that the muggier air is where your ball carries further, according to Conine.
Well, it sounds like we have a discrepancy, a disagreement between long ball experts here.
Yes.
Jose Reyes, Wilmer Flores, and Matt Harvey. How about Dan Straely this afternoon? Gets to the 5th and has shut out the Mets. Reyes in the air. Marcell Ozuna has it, and that's the first out of the 5th. South Florida Honda dealers always getting you ready for the next game, and they'll get you ready on a late night with the Fish. Tomorrow night, 9:30 start. Craig Minervini. Hey, Jeff Nelson had some great years in Seattle. He'll tell you all the good places to eat in and around the Northwest. Delay-free Kohler. That's not like duty-free Kohler. That's delay-free Kohler. He had the rain delay and he had the power delay. He did not have the cat delay, though, right? No.
No. It's not possible.
Feline delay. I'll bet you somewhere here in the streets of Miami, Rally Cat right now is snacking on a can of tuna from some fan who saw Rally Cat in the neighborhood.
I think Rally Cat's here. Rally Cat hasn't been corralled yet, has he? My understanding is that Rally Cat's still a free cat.
It all adds
Clearly,
adds to the legend. Living like what, behind the Clevelander?
Well,
surviving on the kindness
since
of
the Rally Cat, look at the games that have been played here.
It's true.
I mean, the 2 rallies the last 2 nights for victories.
It's great.
Rally Cat is in the building somewhere. Where? I don't know the answer to that question. Rally Cat's here.
Not there. Rally Cat had his mind blown when he got up there and took a look at the 8-foot-tall flamingos. Straely misses out. It's 3-2. Full count. Flores swings and hits one to left field, hits it deep. Back goes Ozuna at the track, at the wall, and he got it! He got it! Oh, Marcell Ozuna got to the wall, climbed it, and then almost had to bend back and make the catch.
That's how you make adjustments, young outfielders watching. Get yourself back to the wall and give yourself a chance. I'm not sure this was leaving the yard, but he gave himself a chance if it was going to. You see it right there. Great catch. Tons of hang time off the bat. You see the frustration right there from Flores. And the appreciation, your starting pitcher. That is a great feeling, Marcell Ozuna.
Harvey pops it up. Bohr to the rail. And it's off the top of the dugout. Well, Ozuna, had it been a little further, Ozuna had that covered as well, because he had his arm on top of the fence.
Well, the height of that ball, it's some great hang time. He was out in front and kind of clipped it, got it up in the air, but it gave Marcell Ozuna a great opportunity to get to the spot. That's always the key for an outfielder, is getting yourself to the spot as quickly as possible so you can make an adjustment.
And he popped the chain after a terrific catch. Domingo Baseball would be thrilled with that.
Wow, you learn something new about your partner all the time. I didn't know that was in your vocabulary. Do you have bling?
I do not.
Oh.
But I can't make catches like that, so. 2 outs in the 5th. Dan Straely 1-2 on Matt Harvey. Stanton, Bohr, Gordon, and all 3 of them converge. I don't think either of them caught the ball, but thankfully all 3 of them are okay. That's 2 large humans going at it, right?
Yeah.
And 1 D. Gordon.
If I'm manager Don Mattingly, I'm getting a little nervous here. Your 2 biggest players right there converging. Yeah, there's a little contact here too. Ooh, you see it between Giancarlo and Bohr. I'm not sure.
Good thing there was a bouncer there to help him. I mean,
that's about 500 pounds of men. Stay out of the way. There you go.
And he went. Dan Straely with 5 no-hit innings. Helped by Marcell Ozuna. Wilmer Flores tries to lead. Marcell Ozuna to the wall. 1-0 Miami. they don't have a hit. Dan Straely, 5 innings in the book. Now, Straely with a hug. But I think his teammates are going to get on him as well, too. Not only some congratulations, but also climbing the wall, then having to bend backwards. So it's 1-0, and here's Harvey delivering a fastball for a strike to Miguel Rojas. We talked about Don Mattingly and his plan and strategy for a better approach at the plate, and some of that had to do with on-base percentage. And I think Rojas is a guy that is emblematic of that. That's part of the little things that he wanted cleaned up offensively. Rojas hits a hard ground ball to short, and it was his walk last night in front of Yelich that got things going. Geico presents this moment in there it is, Major League history. Cleveland Indians become the first team to wear uniform numbers on a permanent basis. 1929. There's the box score. How about that? Look at that. See the numbers and all that? 1929 box score. Safety razors, Chesterfield, Old Gold. Those the sponsors back then. And back then there were signs on the outfield. That kind of went away in the 60s, 70s, and came back into baseball. Straely takes a strike. Hey, remember, Wei-Yin Chen was 0 for 51 before, depending on where you're broadcasting. His first hit, Straely was 0 for 48 to start his career before his first hit. He was 0 for 48, and then last year against Pittsburgh got a single off of Ivan Nova.
There's no doubt when Dan arrived to South Florida that he was like, wait a minute, there's a starting pitcher who's worse off than.
Oh, wow, that was almost extra bases.
Almost had to eat my words right there.
Yeah.
Good swing of the bat by Dan Straely, shooting one down the right field line. Worse than he. That 0 for 48, as you were just alluding to, found out that Wei-Yin Chen had already eclipsed that until that 70-foot single the other day.
Straely strikes out. Pirates and Marlins, Aquafina on a Sunday fun day. Aquafina 4-pack. 4 tickets, 4 hot dogs, 4 soft drinks, or Aquafina waters. And it starts at just $84. And on Sunday, including today, kids get to run the bases after the game. Gordon still thinking about bunting. Takes up. He bunted successfully in the first. Shortened to bunt in the third. Ended up singling in the at-bat. And he's right back at it here with 2 outs. D. Gordon into center field. Goodness, he is really swinging it. 3 more hits in this ball game.
Fastball out of the hand, little tilt down low in the zone, little run to it. You see D. Gordon stay on it, drive it right back through the middle. 3rd hit of the game for D. Gordon. Got Matt Harvey's attention on that one.
Same spot, right? Gordon at first, 2 outs, Real Muto at the plate. Mets pitch out thinking he's running. He didn't run early in the at-bat.
Well, and that's what we were talking about. JT Realmuto took his last at bat, took the first couple pitches to give D. Gordon the opportunity to run. Now, he wasn't able to get the jump that he wanted or chose not to go. JT put himself in a position where he was hitting with 2 strikes.
I don't think JT's going to wait around for a pitch like he did. Remember, he had 2 fastballs that he took. And at the same time, I don't think that D's going to wait around until 2 strikes.
Well, and technically he shouldn't either, but that's the, that's what the Mets, that's why you saw the pitch out right there. That's the game of baseball. They were thinking right along with him. D. Gordon probably should have gone on the first 2 pitches in the last situation. He did not. He probably wants to correct that right now. That's why they pitched out.
He bluffs and the pitch is down. And now Realmuto's in a 2-0 situation.
This is where the advantage goes to the hitter, because it clearly appears that the Mets and Matt Harvey are paying a ton of attention to D. Gordon over there at first base.
3 stolen bases this year. Gordon not running. Realmuto pulls it on the ground. Flores goes the short way to second in time, and the Marlins are done. Dan Straely back out in the 6th. Mets still without a hit. A hit, top 6. Dan Straely looking good today. Normally we get some news or breaking news out around baseball or even out of the Marlins front office. We just have had this handed to us because there were rumors and we were trying to confirm this. It has been confirmed. Rally Cat has been adopted by a Marlins employee. So they found Rally Cat after his escape the other night, and Rally Cat has been adopted.
Rally Cat was adopted by the Marlins family. He was always part of the Marlins family. I mean, let's be real. He lived in Marlins Park, for crying out loud.
So that's good news. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors.
He's still Rally Cat.
He still is. Top of the order, Dan Straely misses out. If you're just joining us, Straely making his 3rd start, and he's been magnificent today against a powerful Mets team who leads the National League with 22 homers. But nary a hit. Granderson, Walker, Cespedes. And a strike. Shift is on for Granderson. He is flied out and bounced into the shift on an 0 for 2. And pitches out. Now Straley's control in the 1st, the 2nd, and the 3rd. He walked a Met hitter, but didn't give up a hit in that inning. Got out without any trouble.
We talked about where that walk was. It wasn't at the front end of the inning. Didn't put a guy on. Nobody out leading off the inning. Was able to work around that walk. A couple instances with an out, the other one with 2 outs. Follow up and get that out.
With the shift, it's Straely, and look at Real Muto, the former shortstop, all the way down. That's a blind spot in the shift, a pop-up on the left side in foul territory. We've seen that a couple times this year. And when you have an athletic catcher like Real Muto, he can bail you out.
Now you have to expand with Dan Straely on the mound right there. Dan does a nice job getting off, but JT Real Muto, even with the mask in hand, stays under control the entire time and able to get himself over there and make the catch.
That is an incredibly athletic play.
That's a great catching. That's a great catcher right there. He took complete control of that situation, even with the mask in hand.
Now Neil Walker was walked in the first and walked in the third. The pitch count for Straely, 83 pitches. So unless he has a string of 7 or 8 pitch innings here, going the distance is problematic.
Well, it is part of the conversation moving forward, but he's in a really good spot right now. And it's not about piling up strikeouts. You just look at where he's at, how efficient he has been during most of the at-bats.
Walker rips it at 2-0 pitch, and it's 2-1.
He's done a great job locating his fastball today, anywhere between 89 and 92 miles an hour. Left-handed hitters living on the outside corner, elevating at times. You've seen the changeup down in the zone. Backup slider right there. All 4 of his pitches really working for him today.
Yes. So Walker, Neil Walker walks for the 3rd time. Aptly named. Every weekday morning, Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp go head-to-head on all the hot topics in sports. Undisputed with Skip and Shannon, weekdays from 9:30 to noon. That's Eastern time, only on FS1. Here is Cespedes, and of course the Mets are 1 swing away from the lead. Anytime you got Cespedes in the box, but we've got Bruce and Duda. Some of the thunder they've got. Juan Nieves calling down to the bullpen. Straely drops in a breaking ball for a strike.
Well, he's done a nice job today against Yoenis Cespedes. Popped up to the second baseman, ground ball to short. It's the bad contact. It's where the contact has come on Cespedes' bat. It was off the end in both instances. Starts him off with a first pitch slider.
One-run game, 1 out in the 6th.
Of his last 5 home runs for Cespedes, 4 have come against the fastball.
Fastball up and in. Harlan Garcia is up in the bullpen.
Impressive inning a couple nights ago.
In his major league debut.
Young man.
Two and 1. That first inning run that D. Gordon created is the only run of the ball game. And that's in.
Well, this is a similar pattern to the last couple starts that we have seen. Nieves out to talk about it.
Well, in his first 2 starts, 67 pitches, 79 pitches. He's at 91 here.
Well, it's not so much about the efficiency or even the pitch count. It's how those outings went. Both instances, great run at the start of the game to get through those lineups. We talked about it in the open during the pregame show. The Zimmerman home run, but outside that Zimmerman home run, I think it was 10 out of the first 11 hitters. He was good. He was real good. Pitches down in the zone, made some pitches, got some pop-ups, some grounders, a couple strikeouts along the way, was in a good rhythm. But then it got to that 4th inning against the Nationals, and things started to unravel. A couple of walks, a couple of hits. He couldn't get it back. It did happen in his last start against Atlanta, but he found himself at the bottom of the lineup, and he was able to navigate through that traffic. A couple of walks back to back.
And Cespedes was geared up for that. 83 miles an hour. He's not in that part of the lineup for the Mets. He's right in the teeth of it with Cespedes, then Bruce, then Duda. In a 1-run game with Walker at first and a full count and 1 out. See if Terry Collins wants to get aggressive here. Infield shifted left side. Outfield deep.
Saw after that meeting on the mound, Dan Straely go to the slider on the 3-1 pitch. Cespedes expanded his strike zone a little bit right there.
Where would you go with Cespedes here? Would you stay slider?
I think you might. You know, again, you're hoping that he expands his zone. We've talked about that today. Cespedes has shown the willingness to go outside of his strike zone today and chase a few of his off-speed pitches.
Tried a front door slider, and it didn't come far enough to get in the kitchen, so to speak. It missed just in. And the Mets now with runners first and second. Don Mattingly pacing. You've got Garcia, the lefty, in the bullpen. He hasn't been up that long. And here is Bruce. Now, Bruce has struck out twice today, but he's also capable of hitting at 430 feet. And Don Mattingly is on his way out to the mound. And he's coming to get Straely, who has not given up a hit, but is wobbling here, walking Neil Walker and Yoenis Cespedes. And he exits here. Second major league appearance for Harlan Garcia coming up. Straely exits. Miami clinging to a 1-0 lead. Nothing game. Dan Straely has been removed and not given up a hit, but wobbled here in a 1-run nail biter, walking Neil Walker, walking Yoenis Cespedes, and running straight into the lefty bats of Jay Bruce and Lucas Duda. The Marlins have a lefty reliever, finally, Harlan Garcia, but he's only pitched in 1 major league game. Garcia enters. Jay Bruce, who has struck out twice, infield looking for a ground ball. And Garcia bounces one at the plate. Now, one of the reasons you do this is this year, obviously not a huge sample size, but it illustrates how Bruce has been swinging it against lefties and righties.
Well, Don Mattingly knows that, you know, his bullpen, as we talked about, same with Terry Collins, you're still probably juggling a few guys in your bullpen. Garcia, if he's going to pitch today, this is the spot you bring him into the ballgame, the lefty-lefty matchups.
Ground ball. It's a foul ball. Bohr was on it. It was right on the line. And everybody will head back. And Garcia has a strike.
Let's not forget his first time out was a successful first time out. He made some good pitches, ran into a little trouble at the beginning of the inning, but then he found his fastball, good location, and made some pitches. And I think that's playing into this as well. Don Mattingly was pacing a little bit, and I think he was thinking about it because of the success that Straely had against Bruce and Duda. But if you're going to use Garcia, this is the spot to use him with the two lefties in a row.
Bruce 4 for 13 in the series. And a swing and a miss at a breaking ball. And it's not just for Bruce. You've got Duda on deck. And at this point in the ball game, you don't see Terry Collins pinch hitting for those boppers.
No.
One, two. He went back to the breaking ball, and it's 2-2.
Same pitch, same spot. Jay Bruce able to lay off that slider this time.
See what he gets. 2-2. Fastball. 95, but low, and now I'm sure that the heart rate is up in the dugout and on the mound with this young lefty, his second major league appearance in a key moment in a 1-0 game.
Well, he's got him set up for a good fastball in. Stayed away exclusively this at bat. See what he does.
3-2. Another ground ball. It stays at 3-2. And a visit from JT Realmuto. Juan Nieves back on the phone, and another reliever will get up and get loose. After Duda, you've got a righty bat in Darno. Freddie Gonzalez and Straely watching. 3-2 again. Got him! Wow!
Goes back to the slider.
That's one. Now comes Duda.
Talk about making a pitch. My goodness, willing to go back to the slider low in the zone and get the swing and the miss from Jay Bruce. You roll the dice, but when your stuff is playing, he went there for a strike earlier in the at-bat. Was able to get it, went right back there again.
So now here's Duda, and we explore him against lefties. Another tight game. Mets, Marlins. 1-0 Miami on an Easter Sunday with 2 outs in the 6th. Now Garcia misses up.
Tell you what, that two-seam fastball does serve a purpose, though. It keeps these powerful left-handed Mets hitters honest.
Garcia was in Jacksonville's bullpen, had 3 scoreless outings, has started in his minor league career. Actually got to the big leagues last year for 3 days, but did not appear in a game. Fastball, fly ball, left field. Ozuna is there, and the kid gets out of it. Dan Straely, and for 2 outs, Harlan Garcia are no-hitting the New York Mets. And Miami's hanging on to a 1-0 lead.
Stanton drives it right center field, hits it deep. Granderson back, looking up, and it's gone. That's over the old dimensions. Giancarlo Stanton with a 2-run shot, his first of the year. He's now the all-time leading home run hitter in Miami Marlins history.
That was back in 2015, our Coors Banquet timeless moment. Stanton homering late last night, right after this guy. The Marlins came from behind. Yelich's 2-run homer tied it. Stanton's solo shot provided the winning margin in the bottom of the 8th inning. Yelich first out of the chute. Stanton and Bohr next. So Dan Straely's gone. He didn't give up a hit. Struck out 5, walked 5, and threw 93 pitches. Matt Harvey's still going strong. Harvey has struck out 3, walked 1. And the Marlins have managed 5 hits, all of them singles, 3 by D. Gordon. And Yelich knocked home the only run of the ball game.
Think back to that situation right there where Don Mattingly decides to go to Garcia. You know, Dan Straely in his first 2 starts ran into similar trouble where his command started to get away from him a little bit. Obviously in Washington, it was a little early in the ball game. Don Mattingly wanted to see him kind of get through that. Struggled, couldn't do it.
Yelich pulls it into right field. That's a hit. A leadoff hit here in the 6th for Christian Yelich.
It's a breaking ball on the inside part of the plate. You see Darno right there, obviously working back. That's called missing. It's a mistake. He was talking about this yesterday. Christian Yelich was the difference at the big league level is good hitters don't miss the mistakes when you get them. That right there was a mistake. He rips it in the right field.
Stanton bounced out of the 1st, walked in the 4th. Now the Marlins have run against Harvey on a couple of occasions. Stanton fouls that one back to the screen. And on both occasions, the ball's been put in play. Real Muto, remember, punched a single to center when Gordon was running. Gordon got to 3rd. When Stanton was running, Ozuna actually punched Stanton with the line drive. Hit him with a line drive. Ozuna got a hit, and Stanton was out. Harvey dots the outside corner, and it's 0-2. The reason I say that is Yelich, here's a look at the pitch. It's a good spot. Yelich can steal a bag. Has increased his lead at 1st. Struck him out. And Stanton caught looking. Harvey Strikeout number 4.
See the frustration from Stanton right there. A couple of pitches low in the zone. Carlo thought they were down.
Bohr now struck out in the second, line to left. See, 3 for 17 in this series. Harvey chases Yelich back. If you're going to run, do you wait till after the Bohr at bat, because you have that right side open? You can see Duda is holding the runner. That gives Bohr something to shoot for. But if you're going to run, would you run this at bat?
You would not. You don't want to run with Bohr up. Bohr puts the ball in the air quite a bit. We've seen it already in the early part of the season. The ball in the air, hits a lot of fly balls. Hasn't pulled a whole lot of balls to the right side in the early going. And again, in the situation with Ozuna up, this point of the ball game, probably a little bit more inclined to wait. Might have run with Stanton just because the numbers might have led you to believe that. Didn't have great numbers against Harvey. I think in this situation you want to hold true.
The count goes 3-0, and now you take a look from the Clevelander. Now we'll see if Bohr has a green light and get something to hit 3-0. Lost him, and Harvey walks Bohr. And now here's Ozuna. Dan War, the pitching coach for the Mets, on his way out. Mets bullpen has activity, but early stages of throwing right now.
Well, this is the spot.
Josh Smoker.
Right. This is the spot for Matt Harvey going up against Marcell Ozuna. As we know here for the Marlins this season, Marcell Ozuna has been their hottest hitter, most consistent hitter. You think back to his last at bat. Line drive off of Giancarlo Stanton, stayed inside the baseball real well, shot the hole over there.
So Yelich at second, Bohr's at first. Ozuna hit that line drive that hit Stanton as he was trying to steal second, and he struck out. Ozuna lines it in the gap, left center field. It's going to the wall. Yelich will score. Here comes Bohr, rumbling to third. Freddie will send him, and he scores. No, he's out. Plate was blocked. He's out at the plate. Bohr turns to the home plate umpire, Trip Gibson. His slide came up late. The Marlins certainly will look at it.
He may not have gotten there. It appears that he didn't get there. Watch his front foot. It's going to come up. Yeah, see, it bounces right there on him. He doesn't get there.
The question is
never
this.
got there.
The question is this. Did he block him before he had the ball? Yes.
Yep,
his leg is in the way before he caught the ball. This very easily can be a violation of home plate. He doesn't have the ball yet.
He does not have the ball yet. There's the baseball right there. That is.
And right now, the Marlins are not going to challenge. The Marlins are not challenging this. So Bohr came up short on the slide. d'Arnaud got a leg down before he had the ball. Wow. Marlins get a run. Ozuna is at second. And Dietrich fouls it back. Dietrich takes ball one. So that play at the plate, Bohr coming in. d'Arnaud sliding over. Now I guess the question would be, did the throw take d'Arnaud in front of the plate?
It's not.
Pitch is up.
Ball coming in. It's on his glove. It's just the ball hasn't arrived yet. That's what we know. You can see that as clear as day from any camera angle. He puts his glove down to receive the ball. Bohr is scoring before that, but doesn't get to home plate because he's being blocked off of home plate. The ball goes right into d'Arnaud's glove where he's originally holding the position. It's not taking him into the runner in any way, shape, or form.
That one foul back to the screen. All right, to review the rule, catcher must have possession of the ball to block the pathway of the runner trying to score. If the umpire decides that catcher is without ball, block pathway of runner, then runner is safe.
Watch the glove. See? He's blocking home plate with his left leg right there before the ball has arrived.
All right, but here's a question. Did the ball take d'Arnaud in that direction? You could see him reaching to his left.
I'm not buying it. It's not it at all. If he holds the glove in that position, the ball would have landed in his glove in that position. He is trying to buy some time.
Still a run across and a 2-0 Miami lead. A long conversation between Don Mattingly and the home plate umpire Trip Gibson, and I'm sure the topic of discussion was the play at the plate. This is Justin Bohr trying to score. Now, first and foremost, it was not a very good slide from Bohr. That lead foot got up in the air. He got sideways. The ball arrives. d'Arnaud sealed the plate with the shin guard and the leg, but the throw was up the line. Now watch where the throw is received. He's leaning to catch it.
Yeah, if he leaves his glove back there, but I think what we're all seeing is him leaning with his body into blocking home plate, and that's where as a catcher you can buy yourself a little bit of time. That's what he's trying to do.
It is challengeable. Runner may not deviate
from
those
last two lines right there.
From his direct pathway. That didn't happen. catcher must have possession of the ball. It's a block pathway of runner trying to score. If the umpire decides that the catcher without ball, block pathway of runner, then runner is safe. Now the mystery is why it wasn't reviewed. And certainly on Marlins Live, we'll have Don Mattingly's press conference. We'll have comments. We'll let Jeff Conine take a look at the play. And we'll get an interpretation, certainly from the Marlins clubhouse. And the hope, obviously, for Mattingly and the Fish is that that doesn't come down to bite them in this game. And so it's a 2-0 game instead of what you thought would be a 3-0 game. And here is Kyle Barraclough.
Well, there's got to be some reason why they didn't review it. Because at this stage of the game, where the game turns over to, being in the hands of the umpire from the 8th inning on, I mean, you're right there. So, you have it, whether you lose your challenge or not, you still have the lead in this game. So maybe it's something that, that you want to put in their hands. But I could also see where you got the runner coming in, and you might think that it's just as obvious as the play that you see, because Justin Moore doesn't score because of the slide and that front foot bouncing up off the ground. You know what I mean? It's like, so when you're looking at the replay, that's exactly what you're seeing. So you start with, did he score in the first place?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get style points for that.
No.
1 and 2 to Travis d'Arnaud. So Barraclough is now pitcher number 3. Fly ball right field. Stanton after it at the track. Got it. And runs it down. And by the way, the Mets still don't have a hit in this ball game. Straely went 5 1/3. Harlan Garcia extracted the Marlins from a really sticky spot himself. That was to finish the 6th, and Barraclough gets the first out of the 7th.
Great running catch by Giancarlo Stanton, under control into the corner. Talk about taking that straight line and putting yourself in position. Well done right there.
Bouncer out to second. Gordon to first. And Reyes is out. So if the Marlins are going to bring this home, it's going to have to be a combined one. And speaking of that, in AAA on Friday, 3 pitchers combined.
3 baby cakes?
3 baby cakes for a no-hitter. And it was Scott Copeland who went 7. Hunter Cervenka an inning. Brandon Caniff for an inning. Here, 6 2/3 through, Kyle Barraclough works on Wilmer Flores. Mets box score. Nary a hit on that line. And Flores with a count 2-0.
Now remember, Flores' last at bat, deep fly ball to left. Marcell Ozuna brought one back, or at least off the top of the wall, making a great catch.
Stanton to the line, makes the catch. Kyle Barraclough, 8th pitch, 7th inning. Mets still don't have a hit here in Miami.
Back goes Ozuna. At the track, at the wall, and he got it! He got it! Marcell Ozuna got it! On a Sunday, the Marlins and the Mets are finishing a 4-game series that has had some marvelous moments. From a 16-inning affair in Game 1, a walk-off for Real Muto, and of course the back-to-backs last night from Christian Yelich and Giancarlo Stanton, Rich Waltz along with Todd Hollinsworth. So what do you do for an encore here in the matinee on Sunday? Well, the Mets don't have a hit through 7 innings. The Marlins have 2 runs. They're beating Matt Harvey right now, and we had a dust-up play at home plate that brought some questions and some controversy. All you could ask for here on a Sunday at the ballpark.
Well, that's what you hope for. Marlins playing great baseball right now. Talk about building some character here in the early going with these 1-run ball games, finding a way to get it done. You've seen great starting pitching, good start from Dan Straely today. The bullpen now involved in getting it done as well. Just enough offense. Maybe a little bit more would probably make everybody in the building a little more comfortable.
Well, the Marlins and the Mets are now into each other's bullpens because Matt Harvey's coming out of this ball game. Josh Smoker is in. And for Don Mattingly and his group, you look at the way this series lined up in terms of starting pitching. Robert Gazelman was the starter in Game 1, and the Marlins lost that game in 16 innings. And then you looked and you said, oh, goodness, Marlins lost that 16-inning game. Now they've got Syndergaard, now they've got DeGrom, and now they've got Harvey. Now, they didn't beat Syndergaard or DeGrom individually, but they won those games, which is, hey, it's just as good, right?
Well,
and now against Harvey, a 2-0 lead.
It's the type of ball game that you tell yourself, when you're going up against some of the game's best pitchers, you sit, as a team, you say, listen, stay in the game. You want your starting pitcher to give you a chance after 5, 6, 7 within a run, and you're hoping that something can happen late. And you saw it last night. It's a great example of it. You're within striking distance, and the bats come alive late. That's what you want to do against teams that have really good starting pitching, and Mets definitely have that.
Here is Miguel Rojas, and Rojas takes a strike. Josh Smoker, he was one of the heroes in that 16-inning game, and that's the reason you haven't seen him since. Smoker threw 3 scoreless innings, struck out 5. Rojas hits a smash that Flores captures at third. And there's 1 out here in the bottom of the 7th. Off to Seattle are the Fish. Robinson Cano, don't you know? There's some other thunder in that Seattle lineup. Seattle off to a slow start, but they've started to play better this weekend.
Nelson Cruz, Robinson Cano, it's boppers up in the Emerald City.
Tyler Moore pinch hits. Moore takes a strike.
See Josh Smoker, he's got a big-time fastball, 95, 96 miles an hour, but what has really started to happen, even I have learned over the 7 games that the Mets and the Marlins have played against each other here in the early 2 weeks of the season. Smoker's got a really good changeup, and you saw it just right there, almost every other pitch, and that's the rhythm, to your point about those 3 great innings he threw the other night, what he was doing so well, mixing 95 with 84.
Pitch is out, and it's 1-2. Marlins box score here. Not a lot of damage against Harvey, but enough. Gordon at the top of the lineup with 3 hits, scored a run. Of course, Ozuna's RBI double, scoring Yelich, almost scoring Bohr. And a 2-2. Down goes Moore. Smoker looks like he did on Thursday night. Taste of Miami coming up on April 21st. Best chefs and restaurants from across Miami
will showcase their latest culinary treats. Proceeds benefit the Marlins Foundation. Go to marlins.com/taste of Miami. Here's Gordon now, his first at bat against someone other than Matt Harvey. Little dribbler. Smoker has it. And the Mets finally get D. Gordon out. 2-0 Marlins on top. Mets without a hit headed to the 8th. Look brought to you by the all-new RAV4 and Toyota. Mets Marlins here at Marlins Park since 2012. We've had close games in this series. Another one here. And you can see the numbers are pretty close. One-run games. Marlins have won 15 of the 21 runs, while the Mets have won 20 of the 32 runs. How about that? This is a 2-run. As you can see right now, Miami is working on a combined no-hitter against the Mets. And you've got Dan Straely for 5 1/3, Harlan Garcia for 2 big outs in that 6th inning. Kyle Bearclaw an uneventful 7th. Brad Ziegler now. The likelihood is that A.J. Ramos is not available. We'll see in the 9th, but Ramos's workload has been heavy. So with Ziegler here, you might see David Phelps in the 9th.
That's a byproduct of all the one-run ball games. 4 consecutive one-run games for the Marlins.
It's Michael Conforto who hits for the Mets, and then you've got Curtis Granderson and Neil Walker.
You're merely talking to the number of times that our guys are getting up and getting themselves into a ball game. But what typically happens with games this close, a lot of bullpen arms, they'll get up, get hot, go back down again, maybe get up again, and that's also part of the conversation. How many times does a reliever get up before he actually gets into a ball game?
Ziegler misses out. There's the workload. Now see Thursday with 0 pitches, he got up and heated up. And that's just as good as working. So that's 5 days in a row, and a good pitch by Ziegler, a ground ball to Ramos, and there's the first out of the 8th inning. So essentially 5 straight days for A.J. Ramos.
You see it right there. Combined no-hitter through 7 1/3.
Here's Granderson. Ziegler gets strike 1. Granderson 0 for 3. The offensive hero for the Mets is Neil Walker. He walked 3 times. He's on deck. That's strike 2. Ziegler bounces one.
One of the best in the game of baseball at throwing pitches into the strike zone and having them work out of the strike zone. Spot here for that changeup or slider.
No swing, and that was close.
You see the frisbee action on that slider right there. As a hitter, my goodness, it starts on the outside corner, works its way under your hands. That is so hard to lay off.
2-2. And it's fouled. Ziegler, the 37-year-old, grew up in Missouri. Granderson's not biting. And the count full now at 3-2. This is the top of the order for the Mets. Walker, Cespedes, Bruce behind him. He was way out in front of that.
Well, it's 76 miles an hour, Rich. It's hard not to be. Even when you tell yourself as a hitter, stay back. He's not going to beat me with velocity. He's not going to be able to get 85 miles an hour. And he throws his fastball by me, allowing that pitch to track. You see where, and this is what I talk about when I say the ball's in and out of the zone. You pick him up early, his slider starts out in the zone, but by the time it gets to the hitting zone, the contact point, you're fooled.
That's wide of first.
Therein lies his success as a major leaguer. I mean, it really is. I mean, he has mastered the art with less, how to get more from it.
And that's a foul ball. Three-two, one out. Got him! 4 outs away. I know it's combined, but right now it's starting to build.
You see it, that little side spin right there, that tight slider got a little action on it, works its way underneath his hands. Walk away frustrated.
No-hit bids. Josh Johnson and A.J. Burnett got the furthest. Here is Walker. Some good names on there. Ryan Dempster, Charlie Huff, A.J. Burnett on there a couple of times.
You see those first 2 changeups right there. Down in the zone. You know, Walker has had the best at bats today. Many of the Mets.
Up the middle, and there it is. The first hit for the Mets. Walker into center. That was against the shift.
Clean base hit probably either way.
And now it sets up a really fascinating at bat. Brute strength against the lowest velocity pitcher in all of baseball. In a key moment here with 2 outs in the 8th inning. Ground ball, base hit into center. Yelich charging. Walker stops at second. And the Mets have 2 hard hit singles.
Well, this pitch down. Going to Cespedes, very good low ball hitter. Looking to be aggressive early, finds a hole right back through the middle with the shift.
Now, remember the numbers we talked about. Lefty versus righty for Bruce. Now he gets a righty. And here's their history. Just 4 at-bats. 2 strikeouts.
Jay Bruce on the afternoon, 0 for 3, 3 strikeouts.
Ground ball. Gordon has it on to first. And Brad Ziegler gets 3 outs here in the 8th. Mets get their first 2 hits of the game. Miami holds on to a 2-0 lead. Pop the opening week bunting here at Marlins Park. A 2-0 Miami lead. Bottom 8th. Off to Seattle after this one. Top Kohler, Ariel Miranda. So a lefty for the Fish to face tomorrow up in Seattle at Safeco Field. With Miami here up 2-0. Trying to add to the 2-run lead. As we told you, A.J. Ramos probably not available. This confirms it. David Phelps is up, getting ready for the 9th inning. So Marlins go for a series win here in a 4-game set. Hansel Robles for the Mets. Robles actually won the game, the 16-inning game, on Thursday night. JT Realmuto, Christian Yelich, and Giancarlo Stanton. Realmuto shortens to bunt and takes up.
Well, in his last outing, Robles a little bit wild with his fastball command. 2-seam, 4-seam, 95, 96 miles an hour. Has a good slider to go along with it. It's a big part of what this Mets bullpen does. Slider, keeping the count at 1-1.
Two and one for JT. Realmuto's double in the gap right center. Won game 2 of the series after the Marlins had lost the 16-inning game. Realmuto sick last night. Got to the park right around game time. Watched from the bench. Back in there today. He's 1 for 3. He's got another hit. Realmuto to left. How sweet would it be to add on here and give David Phelps some cushion?
Nice swing by JT Realmuto, pulling his hands through on a fastball on the inside part of the plate. Rips it into left field. Top of the 8th started right. Marlins. It's up part of the lineup. Christian Yelich.
Yelich has an RBI, knocked in Gordon back in the 1st, and his single started the rally in the 6th. He scored on the Ozuna double. Realmuto can run. He's at first. Yelich takes away. Runner goes. Yelich hits. Bobbled. Reyes' throw is just in time.
Well, the bobble took away the double play. Still able to recover, and Christian Yelich at first base. No shot at JT Realmuto right there. Once the bobble happens, Reyes has to settle. We're getting the out at first base.
Miami's been very aggressive today. They put
have.
the game in motion 3 times.
Certainly Don Mattingly looking to be aggressive, and that's part of it. Again, part of that little things conversation that we've heard so much about all season long. It's not going to just be about swinging the bats and hoping that they find the power or enough power to beat teams. They're going to put guys in motion and try to create offense.
Looking for a base hit here with the outfield very deep. And Robles misses in.
You think back to an inning, I think it was about 2 or 3 games ago, essentially had run themselves out of an inning because of that aggressiveness. But it's not something you stop doing just because of past failures. You need to be aggressive and continue to run. There's so many good athletes in this Marlins lineup that you can put guys in motion.
Breaking ball up and in. Stanton ducks out of the way. And it's 2-0. Fastball out. 3-0. Big fella got a green light here.
He should. 2-0 ball game in the 8th inning. One swing can make all the difference. Words like insurance start getting thrown around here in the 8th and 9th inning.
See if he gets a fastball. Yep. And green means go. So it's 3-1 now. Stanton drives it to the right side. Walker gets over and gets the out. So 2 outs. Realmuto 90 feet away. RBI Baseball 2017 returns. MLB action is packed with all your favorite MLB teams, players, ballparks, and more. Get RBI Baseball today for Xbox, PlayStation 4, and mobile devices. Learn more at rbigame.com. Xbox One. Now Bohr, and he takes out. Bohr's lined out, walked, and struck out. 1 strike.
Moore has come up with some of his best at bats this season late in ball games. Could all breathe a little easier in the 9th. Pick up that 2-out RBI.
Moore asked for time. And remember, it's David Phelps warming up in the bullpen. There are your do-ups, Duda, d'Arnaud, and Reyes. 1-1 to Bour. It's out.
Marlins have been one of the best teams in baseball in this situation. Runners in scoring position, 2 outs. In fact, they lead the majors in homers with 4, hitting .308 as a team with 2 outs and runners in scoring position.
Hit. 2-1. Topped to Walker. Throws him out. David Phelps looks for career save number 6. And he's got a 2-run lead to protect. Marlins Baseball, Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. And by your South Florida Honda dealers. Images from opening week for the Marlins. Remember, a split with the Braves, but a chance to take 3 of 4 from the first place Mets. There's your line score. The Mets got their first 2 hits in the 8th inning. After 2 were out, Dan Straely went 5 1/3. Harlan Garcia, Kyle Barraclough, Brad Ziegler. And before David Phelps climbs up, Miguel Rojas goes to 3rd. JT Riddle is now at shortstop. So the Marlins put their best defensive infield out there. And with Rojas unavailable, it's Phelps.
See that 5 career saves. He's been in this position before.
Lucas Duda, Travis d'Arnaud, Jose Reyes for Miami. Phelps drops in strike 1.
Fastball, cutter, curveball, and you saw that first pitch curveball right there, which has been a big part of the formula for the Marlins this series against this powerful Mets team. Pitching backwards to some extent, not everybody, but at times, and you see it right here. We saw it yesterday with A.J. Ramos in the 9th inning. Start a guy off with a curveball, follow it up with a 92, 93 mile an hour fastball.
Oh, 2.
What a pitcher would call speeding up a hitter.
This was Dan Straely, Matt Harvey. Harvey went 6, Straely went 5 1/3. And the Marlins got both their runs against Harvey. One and 2. Got him. Phelps with that cutter catches the corner.
Beautifully set up by David Phelps right there. Remember the pitch before it, 96 on the inside corner off the plate. What does he do? He goes right back to the outside corner with that cut fastball, Rich. Lucas Duda's looking in a different spot. It's strike 3.
Now d'Arnaud, who is lined out, popped out, flied out. With a win here, Miami could go to 7-5 and drop the Mets to 7-6. And it's just the second week of the season, but for the Fish, it would be a nice thing to head towards Seattle atop the East.
I think you'll hear a word like confidence after today's ball game with this stretch against the Nationals and the Mets. That's if in the division you finish this off.
That's if they can finish this off. d'Arnaud behind in the count 0-2. Of course, the Nationals are in action today, and they have a 3-1 lead over the Phillies in the top of the 8th. That's in DC, so the Nationals could get to 7-5 as well. You could hear d'Arnaud turning and asking Trip Gibson, was that a strike?
I remember asking that. I'm sorry for laughing. I remember asking that a few times early in my career, and the response was, you swung, didn't you? He's asking about pitch location, hoping that the umpire will let him know where it was at.
See his legs almost buckled, and he held the bat back. And it's 2-2.
You know, David Phelps has got a great breaking ball, very difficult for hitters to track, especially when you have to respect the fact that he throws 96 miles an hour to go along with it. Those knees wobble just a little bit.
Of course, Phelps, being a guy that has been a starter in his career, a middle reliever in his career, a high leverage guy in the 7th and an 8th. It's unique that someone would come out of a bullpen in this day and age and work from a windup. 3-2. Although his windup is a abbreviated one, it still is a windup.
Well, and again, this is all about feel. So many pitchers today, I mean, a lot of starters have eliminated the windup altogether. Steven Strasburg, we talked about it in the National Series. Jake Arrieta with the Cubs is essentially eliminated. A lot of guys have, but it still exists. And you see David Phelps right now certainly willing to go there.
Breaking ball line into right field, and the Mets have life here with 1 out in the 9th inning. Good at bat by d'Arnaud. He took some tough pitches. And here comes Reyes. Wilmer Flores is on deck. Reyes an 0 for 2. And just a 4 for 45 start for the longtime Met, 1 year a Marlin. Also a Blue Jay and a Rocky.
Well, I'm not one for second guessing. A little surprised here that Asdrubal Cabrera has not popped out of the dugout yet.
Mets have already used Michael Conforto. They would not use Rene Rivera in this spot. Rivera, right-handed, light-hitting catcher. And you're right, Cabrera, the switch hitter.
Think not so much for Flores, but because of the struggles of Reyes here in the early going this season. Maybe. Obviously, Reyes is taking the at-bat.
Reyes fouls it off. I learned a great lesson in broadcasting in the minor leagues. My partner for a while in Las Vegas was Dick Williams,
the manager.
Hall of Fame manager.
Padres.
And I asked him one game if he ever watched games since he had retired and managed along with the other manager, and he said absolutely not. He actually threw a swear word in there, and he said because you never know what is going on in the clubhouse. If a guy is actually injured, if he's sick, if a manager is just trying to get a guy going. Check swing, did he go? No. And it's a great lesson because managing on paper, well, everybody can do it, but if you've told Asdrubal Cabrera you're not going to play at all, it's a complete day off. If he's got a nagging injury, you don't want to irritate it.
Well, it doesn't take away from our own surprise, though. Right. I mean, it doesn't change the
without questions. And maybe Dick might be surprised a little bit too.
There's always a reason. I completely agree.
Here's a 2-2. Got him! Backdoor cutter again.
Phelps goes back to the bread and butter. It's worked before. You see it work again. That backdoor cutter starts off the outside corner and works its way back to the corner. Jose Reyes gives up on it. Picks up the second out here in the 9th inning.
Wilmer Flores is 0 for 3. Line drive, right field. That's a base hit. Stanton drops it, picks it up. Flores is racing for second. Throw to second, and he is safe. Wow, that could have ended the game. Instead, the Mets have runners at second and third. And Terry Collins saving Cabrera, who looks like he will pinch hit now.
Giancarlo Stanton goes to the backhand to keep it from getting any farther into the gap. You're going to watch this right here. It's just going to squeeze it out of his glove. Kind of comes up and catches it in the heel. That's enough to allow Flores to get into second base. Boy, that's awfully risky right there with 2 outs in the 9th inning. Able to get himself into scoring position.
Juan Lagares will run, and this is why Terry Collins was saving Cabrera. It was for this spot, the pitcher spot. 2-run game, 2 runs in scoring position. Big hit by Flores. And here is Cabrera, who's 4 for 10 against Phelps. And Phelps misses. It's 1-0.
Obviously, you want to get this last out for the Marlins infielders, keeping the ball in the infield. Huge.
Pitches out. Granderson's on deck. You saw in that last note at the very bottom, Cabrera is 2 for 17 in this series. But a dangerous guy. A slugging shortstop. Good speed with Lagares at second. Phelps trying to get a strike, and he can't, and it's 3-0 now.
Back to the cutter to try to get back in the count. Has fallen behind 3-0 on Cabrera right there. Do have the base open and Granderson on deck.
That's a strike. It's 3-1.
Cabrera taking all the way right there.
Granderson waits. Cabrera in the box. Game in the balance. Up the middle, into center, and the Mets have tied it. And that fits right in with the way this series has gone. Back and forth. Clutch hits late from both teams. Cabrera with a pinch hit here.
Catches a little bit too much of the middle of the plate. Cabrera able to drive it back through the middle. With the shift right there, Marlins infielders unable to keep the ball on the infield. Cabrera ties up. You see the reaction right there by Phelps. He's talking about the hole that ball just went through.
Breaking ball strike. On the phone, Juan Nieves. Well, you think about that play at second, too, with Flores getting in, just avoiding the tag on the throw from Stanton.
I think there's two plays in this ball game, both on the base paths, that kind of go back and replay. Justin Bour, the play at home plate. That play right there, to your point, Flores rolling the dice. A little bit of a bobble out in right field by Giancarlo Stanton.
Busted bat, and it's foul. And the count 1-2. No Ramos. You can see Phelps is still in an angry mood. Ramos has essentially worked in 5 consecutive. 2 games and then heated up, didn't come in game 3, and then 2 more games. Two and 2. Addison Reed in the Mets pen. Marlins saw him.
He is their closer by definition right now, with Familia serving his suspension.
Marlins saw Reed back in the late stages on Thursday night, as that game was headed to 16 innings. He pitched 2 scoreless. Phelps misses out, and it's 3-2. Urania was just up, and he may take a while to get loose. And so you've got a dangerous guy in Walker on deck.
You've got a runner in motion on this 3-2 pitch here with Cabrera at first base.
There he goes. Granderson fouls it back to the screen. Reed looking on. Three-2. Foul back.
32 pitches for Phelps here in the 9th inning.
Had a pair of strikeouts in the first 3 hitters. Darno single to right. Between those strikeouts, the Flores double to right was key. Actually, a single and an error on Stanton, who had the ball pop out of his glove.
Breaking ball, chopper. Gordon has it, fires to first in time, but the lead is lost. And the game heads to the bottom of the ninth. Mets and Marlins tied again at 2. Facing Matt Harvey, Dan Straely flirting with a no-hitter. The rest of the bullpen took that no-hitter into the 8th. Marlins had a big play at the plate. They got 1 run, but then Justin Bour's slide, he got kicked off of on a tag play. He never touched the plate. It cost the Marlins a run. And then here the Mets scored twice in the 9th inning. And that run really hurts, or the lack of that run really hurts, as Drupal Cabrera is going to stay in the ball game. He's at short. Juan Lagares, remember, came in as a pinch runner. He's a very good outfielder. Reyes is now at third base. Wilmer Flores out of the game. And Addison Reed, who gives the Marlins heartburn, among other things, is in right now. Ozuna up first, and Ozuna strokes a ground ball, base hit left field.
Like to see the aggressiveness. Addison Reed hasn't walked anybody yet this year. Gets a little cutter right there, first pitch. But you see Reyes over at third base as this ball's going to go through the left side. What ends up happening is that he's guarding the line for doubles. That's exactly what you're looking to do right there. So he sneaks it through the left side right there. It's the 9th inning started with a base hit.
There's Reed's numbers. Now you've got Ichiro pinch hitting. Oftentimes a manager's decision to bunt depends on personnel, both at the plate and both behind that hitter in the order. Rojas follows, and then Riddle follows. And so we'll see what Ichiro does here. Obviously, Ichiro can handle the bat. Ozuna's at first. We got Reyes at third. Reed's fresh in the game. And Duda is holding the runner. He squares and bunts, and it's foul. Watching Freddie Gonzalez on his way back to first. Here they are again. Mets and Marlins tied in the bottom of the 9th, and Ichiro pops up the bunt, and it's over the screen, out of reach. Now the count's 0-2.
Well, it doesn't change the job that needs to be done here. No, he's missed on those first 2 bunt attempts. He's got to find contact, preferably on the ground.
So does he swing, or does he bunt with 2 strikes?
I think he's going to be swinging away here.
Ichiro, a little grounder up the line and foul. First game, 16 innings. A 1-run win for the Mets. Second game, nail-biter, walk-off win by a run for the Marlins. Last night, dramatic comeback by Miami. 2 homers in the 8th. And a 1-run win for the Fish. And so here they are again, Mets and Marlins 2-2 in what has been a very entertaining 4-game series. Frustrated David Phelps looks on. Ichiro hanging tough with the count 0-2. Terry Collins coming to check on d'Arnaud, who caught the brunt of that foul tip.
Well, he almost went down off that foul tip. Let's take a look at it again right here. Ichiro swings through it. Watch this foul ball right off the mask. He's going to lose his balance a little bit. Home plate umpire almost catches him. You see right here. He actually almost goes down right there. Watch, there you go. You see that hand right there. He kind of lost his balance. Home plate umpire, as they often do, goes out to buy the catcher d'Arnaud some time. See if he's allowed, if he can recover and stay in the game.
Meanwhile, you've got Ichiro, tried to bunt twice and couldn't. He was fouled off 2 pitches at 0-2. Ozuna still at first. Reed ready. He buries one, and Ichiro holds up. And that's a good indication that d'Arnaud's all right. He made a nice block on that pitch in the dirt. Mets infield looking for a ground ball. Reed gets a lot of those. Long wait, too long for Ichiro. Ichiro swings and misses. That's the first out of the 9th inning. Here's Rojas.
You see that little cutting action on that fastball, 93 miles an hour. That's what he does. He's around it just a little bit, a little too much for Ichiro right there on the outside part of the plate. The Marlins' hottest hitters this series. You see the number 7 for 15.
Rojas, left field, down the line, goes to the wall. Ozuna racing for third, around third, coming home, throw to the plate. He is out at the plate. The Mets throw another runner out. Remember that Cespedes had left, and he started the relay. The Marlins will look at it. He never got the foot to the plate. Now again, Don Mattingly in discussion with the home plate umpire Trip Gibson. The challenge could be blocking the plate again, although to me it looks as if d'Arnaud is going to catch the ball. He did not have a lane. He's got a lane there. I don't know.
When you go back to the third base angle down the line from third base, you can see that there is in fact a lane for Marcell Ozuna as he's coming to the outside part of the lane. Here it is right there. That's the lane that I'm talking about right there. That is not, see, even when he drops the knee, there's still a lane to the backside right there. Throw beats him. Well, a base hit can still win this game.
And so the Marlins challenged that there was a violation, and there was no violation of the collision rule. And that, I think both you and I agree on that one, there's no violation. So Ozuna's out. Here is Riddle now. And you got Rojas left out at second base with 2 outs. Riddle just 1 for 10, his first week in the big leagues. Another big hit by Rojas, even though the run didn't score. Riddle, right field, knocks deep, back goes Bruce, ball game! The kid hit it out! Unbelievable! A walk-off for J.T. Riddle!
How about that, Marlins fans? Are you kidding me? Wow! Have a minute, moment, JT Riddle. How about that?
What a game, what a finish, what a series. The Marlins beat the Mets in walk-off fashion, 4-2 the final. After 2 were thrown out at the plate, including Ozuna right before that. JT Riddle, a 2-run homer.
You see the fastball up in the zone, takes it right back into a swing. He needed to be on time. Beautifully done. Beautiful stroke to right center field. Congratulations, JT Riddle. Wow, that is a sweet moment.
Whoa. This ball game over the last 2 innings took a lot of twists and turns. From a near no-hitter to a near win. 2 outs at the plate, and then this.
He went on and hit it out. He just needed to double off the wall, partner. He came through big time.
JT Riddle's down below with Craig Minervini. Craig?
All right, all high fives for JT Riddle. What do you got?
I don't know. I was just trying to relax. D told me on deck, let his cutter come to, into your pull swing. First one was away, it wasn't my pitch, and I just tried to see something up and get the barrel on it.
Such a crazy, dramatic game. You get the barrel on it, and you knew you had it.
I knew I had it. I didn't know if it was going to go out or not, but I knew it was in the gap at least. And like I said, I just wanted to square something up, put good wood on the ball.
Well, you just want to get to the major leagues and have some success, and then you get a game winner like that, a home run. Then take a look at this. Tell me about the swing.
Right there, I wasn't late. Yeah. I wasn't late. Frankie's been preaching to me, be on time.
You never had a moment like this, I'm sure, in baseball. You've seen last walk-off homer was?
High school, maybe? I don't know. I don't know. My guess would be high school.
There are people watching wondering, what is that like? You hit the plate, your teammates, you're up here in the big leagues.
It's unbelievable. You can't put it into words. You want to pick up your teammates. That's the #1 goal. I want to pick up Phelpsy there. And I came up, a couple hits before me, came up, tried to relax, and give the team a W. And that's what I did.
What a crazy game too in this game. Oh, we've got an appearance from our friend here. That was complete with all the toppings there. JT, have you ever had a shaving cream pie that tasted so good?
Never. It tastes amazing.
This was a crazy game to watch. I mean, with the plays at the plate, the series, the excitement, the drama, you almost felt like it was September instead of April.
You did, and that's how the whole series has felt. The whole series has been just an awesome series. Awesome to be a part of, and to come up, get a series win right there against a good, division rival. So it's big for us.
Let me ask you, going back as a kid, is this the scene you dreamed about ever? This moment, this homer, this time?
I've dreamed about it, you know, and it's coming true right now. It's coming true.
Thanks, JT.
Thank you.
All right, JT Riddle with the big hit here and the shaving cream pie that he deserved as the Marlins win this series 3-1. Guys?
Well, a lot to chew on here for JT Riddle, his first week in the big leagues, and a walk-off homer after near disaster. The Marlins blew a save, had a runner thrown out at the plate that could have won the game, and despite that, they win it on walk-off fashion.
I'm so excited for JT Riddle. He gave you a little snippet going into that at bat. Get to the cutter first, and he did, and he has the biggest moment of his young career.
Walk-off. Marlins win it. Marlins Live is coming up. All the highlights, all the reaction. Should be a great show. Miami wins this series, and they walk off against the Mets. Stick around.